I'd like to welcome you all to this meeting. This is really sort of a unique opportunity. On March 23rd, the president issued 4 executive orders on nuclear, which were also a very unique opportunity for the industry. This was his Manhattan project for the year and for the decade, I believe, in terms of what we have to do to put nuclear electricity basically on the market so that we could meet our needs for the increased demand for electricity for the coming years, especially with all the data centers coming that are going to be very throughout the country. So nuclear is going to play an absolutely important part of that. So the American industry can once again lead in this area. This is very important. Now, in that order, among those executive orders that the president issued, he had one on the Defense Production Act and the consortium, which you are attending today. And this is truly a unique opportunity and a unique availability for you to come and participate with the government. There have only been a limited number of these. Most recently, I think the last one was during COVID, where the industry was able to get together, and it allows us to do things maybe that we ordinarily can't do. We can talk more freely about issues, but the idea is to really see if we can come together on a voluntary agreement and plan of action to what we can do about some of the important subjects, and we'll be divided up into various groups to talk about those issues. Let me give you an example of one of the things that would be important. In other words, we have enrichment issues in the country. There is a potential gap in enrichment with the Russian ban coming into effect. What we need to do is have a domestic industry put forth in the United States to really meet that gap. So your ideas and thoughts about how we do that is really essential to us being able to move forward in this area. One of the things that I hear all the time when people talk to me is, we would just like to have the government get out of the way. It says, can you leave this to the private industry to really accomplish the goals that you ask us to achieve? And I think that this offers us a unique opportunity where we can listen to you, you can come to a voluntary agreement, and we can move forward on ideas that the industry really wants to have and solve its problems. Otherwise, the government comes in, everyone complains about what we ask you to do. They feel we aren't taking your opinions into account, but I think that this offers us an extremely unique opportunity. So I'm very happy to see this move forward today, and we are covering a number of very interesting areas. So what I would urge you to do is, let's see if we can get something done. You're going to have facilitators help you with this in the room. And then later today, hopefully we can have some conclusions about going forward. This is a first meeting. There could be more meetings. So it's a matter of what is it that we need to accomplish and how can we do that together. So I would like to thank you for your participation, and I really look forward to being able to see the outcome that you all have. So thank you for being here today, and we turn it over to Sarah and others, and she will outline what our plans are. Thank you.
So first, I want to thank everyone who attended our listening sessions and our info sessions, which were incredibly helpful in informing the approach that we have taken in establishing the consortium and setting up this day. Some of this info will be familiar to those who attended, but there are definitely new details to share. The draft voluntary agreement was in your inboxes last night. I know everybody was looking for it. We were pushing as hard as we could to get it to you. And it was also published in regulations.gov. So this will cover the voluntary agreement and what plans of action look like. And then we will move forward with our agenda. What we'll cover today is the purpose of the voluntary agreements and the legal framework, the scope and duration, the consortium governance, committees and participation, plans of action, rules, modifications, and expenses, record-keeping confidentiality, antitrust defense, oversight and transparency, and application and agreement. All right, so the voluntary agreement establishes a DOE-led mechanism under the Defense Production Act, Section 708, and it's intended to strengthen the U.S. nuclear fuel cycle. This is authorized by both the DPA and the Atomic Energy Act and the executive order that was signed on May 23rd. Participants under the DOE will act under DOE supervision with DOJ and FTC oversight, as we've noted. And the big benefit of the consortium is that it will create a legal safe harbor for approved collaboration addressing the nuclear fuel cycle vulnerabilities that we identified today and the actions that we identified to take. Participation is always completely voluntary at all times, and all actions are limited to energy security and national defense purposes with a DOE-approved scope. Scope and duration. The president in the executive order outlined all the phases of the nuclear fuel cycle. We added end users, and as a result of feedback that we got from you in our listening sessions, we added cross-cutting issues. It will support DOE's mission for domestic capability, security, and resilience. It will focus on coordination, data sharing, and planning. Those will all be central and essential elements that will help us address these issues. Agreements are effective upon signature of the participant, and each voluntary agreement remains active up to 5 years unless it's extended or terminated. So we can continue to extend this every 5 years, should we choose. And no actions may occur until DOE formally activates plan of action, and that will happen when our Assistant Secretary signs the plan of action. So what does the governance structure look like? Many of you have seen this. So you see at the top, we have our chair, which is our Assistant Secretary. Underneath, vice chair to handle more of the day-to-day type things will be our Deputy Assistant Secretary for Nuclear Fuel Cycle, Flora Knopf. I will be the Secretariat underneath her, managing all of the records and things that you've seen me manage up until this point. Then we have representation from the Office of Nuclear Reactors and High-Level Waste and Disposition. And we will also have NNSA, FTC, DOJ, and other government agencies as appropriate. That's not an exhaustive list. One thing that we're very pleased to note is that we will have industry representatives. We had some pre-consultation that we benefited from greatly, and that was with these 4 groups, so NEI, US NIC, UPA, and ANS. And they will be a part of the steering committee and help inform decisions and act in an advisory capacity when the Assistant Secretary is looking for advice and that sort of thing. So the committees and UFIRM. So UFIRM is a new thing, and everybody asks me, what is UFIRM? We'll talk about the committees first. The committees are intended to address more near-term approaches. And of course, they're organized by fuel cycle stage. That's nothing new for people who've been attending the listening sessions. And each committee will have its own plan of action, and everything will be operating underneath the steering committee, which you see at the top in the rectangle. 1 DOE committee chair and 2 industry co-chairs will be a part of every committee as voted by the committee. And there will be 6-month rotations to encourage action by those co-chairs. Participants must maintain 75% meeting attendance and submit deliverables, and non-participation may result in removal after written notice and appeal opportunity. And what is UFIRM? The Uranium Fuel Infrastructure Resilience Mechanism will function like a committee, but with no industry co-leads. This is because it will handle cross-cutting issues such as financing regulations, workforce development, which tend to have more long-term approaches. And so UFIRM will have 1 plan of action. We also anticipate that this will be something of a semi-permeable layer for non-industry stakeholders to engage with the consortium. Plans of action, that's why we're all here. So these are specific DOE-approved frameworks for implementation. Activation requires DOJ and FTC concurrence and a Federal Register notice, as well as a concurrence of the Assistant Secretary. Actions outside the plan of action scope are not covered by antitrust protections. And each plan of action, the antitrust protections are bespoke to that particular plan of action. No additional antitrust defenses other than what's absolutely necessary. Each plan of action will contain the scope of activities, and that's why we're here today. We're working on identifying activities that will address how we're going to advance the goal of ensuring from the EO that the nuclear fuel supply chain capacity, including milling, conversion, enrichment, deconversion, fabrication, recycling, or reprocessing, is available to enable the continued reliable operation of the nation's existing and future nuclear reactors. I've said that a lot. It will also include roles and responsibilities. All participants must have specific roles and identified responsibilities based upon a short capability statement that maps their contribution to the committee's goals. Each plan of action will include timelines and milestones that will correspond with the scope of activities, and it will also include resources required to accomplish the identified work. For our purposes here today, we're focusing on the scope of activities. Rules, modifications, and expenses. Participants must comply with DPA 708 and 10 CFR Part 821. DOJ, DOE, or FTC may modify or terminate agreements at any time. Participants may propose modifications or amendments, and all expenses are the responsibility of participants. Unless explicitly identified in a previous or future federal program of record, no USG funding should be assumed. Record keeping and confidentiality. This is very important. The DOE Secretariat maintains records per 10 CFR 821. Participants, you, will retain relevant records for 10 years, including emails and things like that regarding DPA. Trade secrets and financial data are protected under FOIA exemptions. So no worries about that. We won't be FOIA'd about you. And exemptions for privileged and confidential information exist. So this afternoon, we are having a closed session. This session is currently open. And the closed session will allow for the participants to speak a little bit more freely about the logic of why we might pursue some of these activities. And so we want to make sure that you have that exemption for privileged and confidential information. Next steps. This is a draft voluntary agreement that was in your inboxes, and it was published in regulations.gov yesterday evening, and it should be available online today for public comment. Following today, we will publish a draft voluntary agreement in the Federal Register for public comment, and this will likely be in early November based upon the timeline of how all of this must work. Once comments are reconciled, the agreement will be made available to participants, you, for signature. In the interim, we are hoping that you, the participants, will take back the results of the work that you do today to discuss with your companies and your council. And then once the voluntary agreement is signed, the committees may begin to meet to finalize plans of action and elect co-leads. And then the work really begins. And now, to talk a little bit about the listening sessions and the backgrounders to support the work that everybody will be doing today, I'd like to invite Grant Mills. Many of you have seen him on the other side of the DPA inbox. He's been just such a huge help, and so want to give him a chance to tell you what we've heard.
Thank you, Sarah. I had the privilege of listening to all of the listening sessions that took place over the course of September. Really appreciate all the participation from everyone here, everyone online. The goal of those listening sessions was to collect information from you so that we could give that information back to seed conversations today. Those conversations were covered by Chatham House rules. What we've done is amalgamate them into buckets. Those buckets became the breakout sessions. You should have received your assignments, which breakout sessions will be in today. If you haven't, they're available on the sheet at the front. Another sheet up here you can check during the break, or they should be in your inbox. I sent them out probably 20 minutes ago. What you'll see on these next slides are two things. First are the problems that we heard from you. The second are ideas that we have. If you don't like those ideas, if you have better ideas, fantastic. This is the day to talk about them. These are purely to engage with you, start thinking about the sorts of things that you want to bring up today. First breakout room is going to be on workforce development. Two big issues are labor shortages and loss of skills and knowledge. We've considered the possibility of a coordinated workforce pipeline. We've also thought maybe coordinating a mechanism to retain information before retirements occur, as well as utilizing mechanisms for the DPA to initiate procurement guarantees and stabilize employment. Second, we'll have recycling and reprocessing. Some issues, government relationship. There is currently no formalized relationship between the government and reprocessors and recyclers. What private partnerships could be utilized in order to best facilitate those sorts of activities? Spent nuclear fuel composition and transportation. There have been some issues in concerns about what materials should go where, who's best utilized, who's responsible for transportation. Concerns about nuclear waste fund usage. Can that be deployed for reprocessing and recycling? Product off-takers, reprocessors and recyclers being able to deliver the materials they're producing to parties interested in buying them. Fuel material storage, that would be if products are produced by reprocessors and recyclers, can they be kept on site somewhere without them being treated as high-level waste? And finally, waste disposal of the genuine waste produced by those reprocessors and recyclers, what pathways exist for that? Ideas we've been looking at, as I said, public-private partnerships, what kind of mechanisms could exist that would best facilitate that? Coordination to determine allocation of spent nuclear fuel. If there are multiple parties interested, how best can we distribute them? As well as coordination to eliminate overlap waste streams. What is being produced? How best can we handle it? Third will be a breakout on supply chains. We've looked at critical minerals, international supply chains, specifically materials arriving from companies that have non-US ownership, ensuring that those materials aren't subject to undue tariffs or restrictions. Concerns around the Russian ban on uranium, whether or not that will last, whether that will leave funds stranded. We've also heard development coordination concerns. Can multiple parties throughout the supply chain develop new capacity without concerns that it won't be matched in other areas? We've considered identifying essential supply chain vulnerabilities for DPA support. That would be extremely helpful. Developing a map of international dependencies, looking at what materials are coming from overseas and seeing if exemptions can't be made. Also, intersector structures for communicating deployment plans. This would be very interesting if we could communicate across the supply chain to determine matched ramping of capacity increases. That may be an interesting issue to address. Fourth, we'll be increasing fuel cycle efficiencies. We've looked at transportation and packaging, ensuring that as we introduce HALEU fuel into the system, we can transport and package that in a cost-effective manner. Facility co-location. This ties back into communication. There could be cost advantages if multiple facilities are on the same site, but that would require coordination between parties that is difficult at the moment. As well as diverse fuel support. There was notes that focusing solely on LEU and HALEU may be restrictive to development of other reactor forms, and that supporting a broader range of fuels may be worthwhile. Ideas we have looked at, utilizing DPA mechanisms to coordinate facility planning, identifying underutilized sites and facilities that could be repurposed for fuel cycle activities, and sharing information to standardize and improve transportation processes. Fifth, the virtual HALEU bank and strategic reserves. This is a concept that we can elaborate on later. We have heard concepts about DOE serving as the buyer of last resort, formation of strategic reserves. We have been interested in possibly looking at sharing data on inventories from different areas in the fuel cycle in order to facilitate a DOE tracking system. Be interested to hear if you are interested in this. We've also looked at coordinating DPA facilitated banking of EUP resources, as well as possibly revisiting the idea of a national uranium reserve. Sixth, and finally, forecasting demand growth. We've heard ideas for DOE producing short-term roll-ups, long-term forecasts, ensuring that market stability in the future. I think the word lumpy was used a couple of times, making sure that any lumpy demand can be flattened out to the best of our ability. And also scrap recovery. Oh, I apologize. Scrap recovery should be on the previous slide regarding fuel supply chain efficiencies. Ideas that we've been looking at, creating a comprehensive support of fuel cycle dependencies, distributing risk to distributing risks across the fuel cycle, and reporting key metrics for accounting and forecasting. Thank you. Looking forward to discussing with you all. I will pass things over to Flory.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be back here at my old home at NEI. I want to start first and foremost by thanking my Chief of Staff, Sarah. If we could just embarrass her and give her a quick round of applause. She has done everything for us. This is no small administrative lift, and it's taken a lot of different people at offices, and she has kept everyone organized and, more importantly, calm. And she's the reason you guys all made it here today. So thank you so much. We obviously have the brain trust here. So I'm really excited to see how the day shakes out. Goals for DPA Day. This consortium is what we make of it. You have heard me say this in every single listening breakout session. And if you ever took a meeting with me when I worked at NEI, you also heard me say this here. We really value your input, but we are not here to tell you what to do. We are here to get your ideas and facilitate them and really come up with some good concrete plans of action so that this entire industry can be successful. We hope to identify these initial action items and timelines that best meet the goals that are outlined in EO 14302, which I know you're all very familiar with. But just as a recap, this creates new opportunities for government and industry to work together differently and with urgency. You're going to hear us today say this a lot. This is our moment. If Maria were here, she would be saying it to you. We are at this inflection point that we have heard so many times. And this will carry the same sort of urgency with it that the rest of our community has been talking about for the last few months since the signature of these executive orders. The EOs also seek to ensure our national and economic security by increasing fuel availability and production, securing civil nuclear supply chains, improving the efficiency with which advanced nuclear reactors are licensed, and preparing our workforce to establish America's energy dominance and accelerate our path towards a more secure and independent energy future. These goals are going to guide our selection of the action items and drive the consortium action planning process that comes out of today. Okay, we have a team of professional facilitators here who have developed purposeful sessions and engagement strategies to help us identify potential action items in these areas that Grant and Sarah mentioned. They are a third-party company. We are very, very grateful to have them here today to help us make our recommendations. They will make all of our lives easier and more inclusive and also keep you on track. I know there are some people in here that like to talk, and so we're going to keep you very focused. But just as a reminder, this is a first step in the DPA consortium. We are not finalizing plans of action to have results tomorrow. This is not the first time you'll see us. This is not the first time we'll be doing this. This is the initial step that we're taking, and we are excited to see what comes out of it. Be prepared to work. This is going to be a fast-paced environment today. We have a lot of people here. There's a lot of people in this very full room. There are a lot of people online. We really need to move quickly to achieve our objectives. We don't have a lot of time. Our facilitators use this phrase 100% coverage, 80% complete to describe this part of the process. We have a lot to cover today, but of course with the expectation that we still have more to do. Everyone, this is where I have to be a mom. Everybody needs to participate to accomplish these session objectives. Please help us prepare potential action items, recommend action items, and establish a timeline. We are very, very interested in hearing your timelines. The government timelines are not private industry timelines. We're really working hard to work with you guys so that we can better understand that, to make all of this very real. And so please be forthcoming with these things. You're really informing us and the rest of the group on what is actually the art of the possible. We are, again, my next bullet, we are focused on partnering with industry. As a personal comment, this is where my time in industry is paid off in spades. I am now back with the government, and it's very, now is the time where I think that the overlap that I've had in my own experience is so important. And we really come at things from different angles. So this is our time to really work together today. You have some subject matter experts. A ton of any staff is in the room today. So please utilize them to the best extent possible. Okay, what we won't do today. We are all going to work together to avoid exploring and defending the merits of potential actions. Again, this is step one. I value all of your opinions equally, but we are trying to get some pen to paper today. Admiring the problem or providing past references of the way we've always done it is something that we are all amazing at doing. I also would like to not do that today. This is a good opportunity. We're really trying to set the tone and the pace to reflect the urgency with which we want to achieve our goals. And finally, please do not dismiss other people's ideas. We all have different experiences in the room. We all have different points of view. We are in a very interesting time with a lot of different ideas, and all of these ideas will be validated through the consortium process. Bridging the gaps. So we've got some people online. We have some people here in person. These in-person participants, you have been assigned based on selection priority and the need to balance the number of participants in each session. We are using Zoom, and we're also using a collaboration tool called Mural to engage both online and in-person participants. So your online participation does have constraints since you're, of course, not in the room here today with us, but also some benefits. I think you'll be able to see every single session as it is evolving during the time today. You'll also be able to choose your breakout rooms for those of you who are not subject to our physical control here at NEI. And the feedback from the listening sessions will be included in the mural whiteboards to avoid the need to cover old ground. So hopefully that will save us a little bit of time and create some efficiencies today. We will again have our facilitators dedicated to the online participants to address these constraints and maximize participation. And everyone's input will be included and recorded. So we see you, we hear you. Please speak up. And finally, I'm gonna take you guys home and make sure you're all really excited about today. Here we are. The last few months have been really, really exciting. The DPA is obviously an unprecedented tool in the nuclear industry. So we don't have a particularly defined picture of where we end up, but we do have a lot of opportunity today to come together to really talk about how we want to get where we all want to be. There's a lot of different ideas. There's a lot of different companies out there. There's even a new generation of people in this room that weren't here 5 or 10 years ago. So everybody that is participating understands how important it is to get this right, not just for your own private company equities, but all of us. This is an American priority. And so please be creative, put aside some old ideas, some old concepts. And again, we're not going to solve all of our problems today. This is nuclear. We're not going to, we're far from it. Things I always joke about nuclear time, which, you know, is not, I don't want to apply that to today. I want to apply normal time to today. So this is a really important first step that can kind of put us on a faster track to getting where we need to be, which is abundant and firm energy. And I have high hopes for today. I'm really happy to see all of you. I have old friends here. Again, always great to be back to NEI. I really appreciate them helping. And I look forward to working with you all. So thank you so much. And I will talk to you throughout the day.
And we're a little bit ahead of time, but we do have some time for question and answer session if anybody has any questions.
So I'm Karen Erdisvich with Entergy. The very first thing you said, Sarah, was that something was sent to my inbox. It was the agreement. I mean, what? It's like the structure of the agreement, or what was it?
Yes, the draft voluntary agreement. It should have been a PDF that was sent last night. It's something like the constitution of the consortium. That's what the voluntary agreement is. And so it outlines what I covered, but in legalese. So that's the legal structure that is open for public comment right now, including your comments.